In most cases, fishing is mundane and uneventful. It's a great hobby and a means of earning a living, but it's not often that something extraordinary happens. But some anglers have the most extraordinary experiences. From dangerous snakes to bizarre creatures, here are the 20 most—
Whoa. I have never seen a situation where somebody pulled a fish out the water and it had a snake in his mouth. Think about all the fishing you've done or even watched it on TV. First thing they do is grab the mouth so they can hold it over their hand to show you how big it is. Imagine a snake crawling. Oh man, I have a heart attack.
Most shocking fishing moments in the world. Number 20. Watch out for danger noodles. Most seasoned anglers know the waters they're fishing. They know the fish they might catch while fishing in a particular river, and they have an idea as to what they might encounter when they're fishing in the ocean. But nature can be pretty tricky, and sometimes weird things happen in the wild. Just take a look at this angler who caught a fish with a surprise inside of it. This angler was busy removing the fish from the line and removing the leaves that got caught in the mouth of his catch when an unfriendly creature showed itself. A snake that slithered right out of the fish's mouth. And this clip just goes to show you why you should always be careful when fishing, especially in still waters. It might be normal to see snakes on land, but some snake species can actually swim in the water. Surprisingly well at that.
Nature is cruel, bro. Now this is something else I gotta worry. I love the fish, so now this is something else to have to think about, bro. Can you imagine? First of all, and another question, what was that fish doing eating a snake? Did the snake crawl in his mouth trying to warm up or looking for somewhere to sleep for the night? What was going on? How does that even happen?
This angler chanced upon a diamondback swimming in the ocean. You see, despite being land dwellers, diamondback snakes, like many other snake species, have a remarkable aptitude for swimming. Snakes are proving time and time again that they're adept predators, no matter where they are. Number 19. Oh snap. At first glance, fishing lines might seem delicate, but they're in fact engineered to be extraordinarily strong. How do you think fishermen are able to catch the heaviest fish? Fishing lines are crafted to withstand not just the weight of heavy fish, but also the immense struggle that fish put up once hooked. After all, reeling in a big fish is as much a battle of strength and endurance as it is a test of skill and patience. The strength of a fishing line is measured in terms of its test, which indicates the maximum weight the line can handle before breaking. Lines with a higher test are stronger and more suitable for catching heavy fish. Some of these lines can hold up to and beyond 100 pounds. But even with very precise tests, unexpected things happen. Just take a look at this guy. It seems like he reeled in a pretty heavy catch, but unfortunately, his fishing line snapped and the sudden loss of force sent him backward. Well, that's one good line and one good fish that got away right there. But sometimes, failure can still lead to a successful catch. Just look at this guy who still caught a fish despite the destroyed fishing line. Number 17. Massive tuna. It's hard to believe that the fish we usually eat from cans can grow to massive sizes. It's easy to carry a can of tuna, but out there in the ocean, these creatures are behemoths. Just take a look at these guys. Tuna are some of the most formidable opponents an angler can face. Their combination of size, power, and speed makes them incredibly difficult to bring on board. Bluefin tuna, for instance, are one of the largest species, reach staggering lengths of up to 10 feet, and can weigh over 1,000 pounds. That's the same length as a Mini Cooper. Other species like yellowfin and big-eye tuna can also reach impressive sizes, often weighing several hundred pounds. Now imagine trying to reel in a creature of that magnitude. Tunas aren't just massive, they're also incredibly strong and fast swimmers. They can reach speeds of up to 50 miles per hour and have been known to dive up to 3,000 feet deep. Number 16. Nice sea lion. The angler made an unlikely companion while fishing in the ocean, a big and ravenous sea lion. Just take a look at the size of this big guy. If it wanted to—
He should have known that once you fed him, he wasn't going nowhere. He's gonna sit right there. Keep feeding me.
It could easily wreak havoc in the harbor, but instead, it simply waits for the fisherman to toss its several fish. Sea lions belong to a group of marine mammals called pinnipeds, which also includes seals and walruses. And when it comes to size, sea lions are among the heaviest predators in the ocean. Depending on the species, males, known as bulls, can reach lengths of up to 11 feet and weigh as much as 2,200 pounds. females or cows are smaller, but can still grow up to 9 feet long and weigh up to 800 pounds. But these creatures aren't simply big. They're surprisingly social creatures. They're gregarious animals, often seen in large colonies where interactions and vocalizations are frequent. The bonds within these colonies are strong, particularly between mothers and their pups. Perhaps that's why this big fella had no problem connecting and interacting with these anglers and establishing some sort of barter. The fishermen get to see his cuteness every morning, and he gets early snacks. Number 15. Fishing in the sewer. Have you ever walked around in your neighborhood and seen a person trying to fish in the storm drain? You might look at them weirdly, but it's actually a real thing. This unconventional approach to the sport is intriguing, to say the least, and is gaining traction among some anglers out there. At first thought, the idea of fishing in storm drains and sewers may seem off-putting or even bizarre, but there are surprisingly a lot of things to catch in the sewers. Storm drain.
It's the whole mental process that I'd have to get over. It takes some time for me to warm up to do this. No. Things that we've seen down in the drains, you know, the videos we've seen with all that gook and stuff, and it's all the way up till people are walking into it waist deep, and it's just all kind of, no.
Fishing, as the name suggests, involves fishing in the extensive network of drains and pipes designed to carry rainwater from city streets. You might be surprised to learn that these drains can often be teeming with fish, particularly after heavy rain. This is important to note. Most of the time, you can only hope for a good catch in storm drains after a particularly heavy shower. At other times, the most you'll get is sludge and mud, or a weird insect that got stuck in the storm drain. The species of fish you might find can vary significantly, depending on the location. From common...
Right, just what he did. This could only be sport fishing. You can't consume this stuff. This can only be a sport.
And species like catfish and carp to the occasional bass, trout, or even eels. Despite the unusual setting, storm drain and sewer fishing gives people living in the city a chance to enjoy fishing without driving for hours. Number 14. Friendly Moray eel. You might think that this deep-sea diver is holding an alien creature, or this video is made by CGI, but that's not the case. This menacing but incredibly friendly creature is a Moray eel. It might look like a monster to some, but as you can see, this eel has no problem getting close to this diver. These creatures, with their elongated bodies, distinctive heads, and wide toothy grins, aren't really hard to identify. There are about 200 species of Moray eels, and they come in a surprising array of colors and patterns, from the speckled giant Moray to the zebra-striped zebra Moray, and even the almost alien-like dragon Moray. They range in size too, with the smallest species measuring around 4.5 inches, and the largest, the giant Moray, reaching lengths of up to 10 feet. This clip might compel you to try and touch one, but wait until you hear how these creatures hunt. You see, Moray eels are great hunters. They have a second set of jaws in their throat, known as pharyngeal jaws, which they can launch forward to snag prey. But despite their fearsome appearance and impressive hunting strategy, Moray eels are typically shy creatures. They spend much of their time hiding amongst rocks and crevices, sticking their heads out to keep an eye on their surroundings. They're primarily nocturnal, meaning they do most of their hunting at night. But again, they might be shy, but they're not to be underestimated. They still have a pretty sharp bite after all. Number 13. The terrifying wolffish. You're looking at one of the most terrifying creatures in the ocean, the wolffish. With their long eel-like bodies and large fanged jaws, wolffish certainly live up to their fierce name. Wolffish can reach impressive sizes, with some individuals measuring up to 5 feet long. They have a unique mottled pattern on their bodies, which helps them blend into the rocky surroundings. They're solitary creatures, spending much of their time hiding in crevices and caves. These creatures have powerful jaws filled with sharp canine-like teeth. These teeth, along with a secondary set of crushing teeth in their throats, allow them to feed on hard-shelled prey such as mollusks, crustaceans, and sea urchins. When a wolffish clamps down on its prey, it's almost impossible for its victim to escape. In fact, this creature has such a powerful bite that even when they're no longer alive, their jaws can still exert a significant force. This means that even a dead wolffish
That's like a snake biting you after you cut his head off. You know what I'm saying? They can still do some damage to you. And to hear that this fish can, wow.
can still bite down on something placed between its jaws. Some fishermen
How can you not see some of this stuff and think it's like aliens from another planet? You know what I mean? After hearing that aliens could possibly be underwater, now when you see certain fish and certain species of fish and different things in marine life, you're like, yeah, I could possibly see where they're coming from.
and researchers have reported that items placed in the jaws of a deceased wolffish are crushed due to the sheer residual force the fish's muscles can exert. Just look at how easily this creature can crush a can.
I see.
But despite their fearsome reputation, wolffish don't pose a threat to humans unless provoked. They're generally reclusive and prefer to stay hidden. Well, now that you can see how these creatures bite, surely you'll avoid them if you ever encounter them in the future. Number 12. A memory in a bottle. In 2022, an amateur fisherman named Gregory D'Alessio pulled out something incredible while fishing in Virginia, a glass bottle filled with notes. Gregory discovered the bottle on Thanksgiving, and the holiday made the discovery extra special. He claimed it was a pretty unlucky day at fishing, but just when he was about to call it a day, he saw the bottle floating near his kayak. Inside the bottle was a note to memorialize a recently deceased loved one. On the back was an instruction that if anyone were to come across the bottle, they should set it back to the ocean where the memory of the deceased woman would be free. Gregory didn't bother opening the bottles that were most likely filled with letters sent by the woman's loved ones. After all, these messages are meant to be for the deceased. Perhaps, somehow, the letters would find their way to her in the afterlife after floating aimlessly in the water.
Yeah, the only right thing to do is to respect their wishes, send it back out into the water.
Number 11. Albino catfish. Catfish, as you probably know, are a diverse group of ray-finned fish named for their prominent barbels, which resemble a cat's whiskers. They're a versatile bunch found in a variety of environments around the world. But there's one particular member of the catfish family that's incredibly different, the albino catfish. Albino catfish are distinctive for their lack of pigmentation, which gives them a pale, almost ghostly appearance. This condition, known as albinism, is a genetic mutation that prevents melanin production, the pigment responsible for coloration in animals. Now here's the thing, while albino catfish are relatively common in the pet trade, they're incredibly rare in the wild. The lack of pigmentation that makes them distinctive in an aquarium is a significant disadvantage in the wild, without the usual coloration to blend in with their surroundings. In the wilderness, survival often means blending in, and the bright white albino catfish sticks out like a sore thumb. These creatures might have a hard time surviving in the wilderness, but for fishing enthusiasts, these creatures are considered must-haves. Number 10. That's a close call. Surely we've all had moments where our brains seem to have spontaneously shut off and we lost our train of thought, but this guy took it to another level. In 2020, a fisherman in Egypt had a bad day when he ended up with a fish lodged in his throat. Can you imagine how horrifying that would be? Gasping for breath, unable to speak properly, with a stinky fish wiggling in your windpipe? The way it happened is also both comical and unbelievable. Apparently, the man was brought to the local hospital after experiencing severe breathing difficulties. Needless to say, the medical staff were all stumped when they found out the cause. A fish, believe it or not, had somehow gotten jammed at the entrance to his windpipe, leaving just a tiny gap for air to squeeze through. If it wasn't for that tiny passage, he might not have made it to the hospital. In fact, when the people got into the hospital, the fish was still alive. The doctors performed an endoscopic surgery, reaching into the man's throat to remove the fish, which was still wriggling. The doctors...
He had an angel on his side. There's no other way to describe that, bro. He had an angel.
Claimed that had the man arrived at the hospital a few minutes later, he might not have survived. Thankfully, the surgery went well, and apart from some minor bleeding, the man was expected to make a full recovery. So here's the question. How on earth did the guy end up with a fish in his throat? Well, apparently, the 40-year-old man had just reeled in a small fish when he saw another of his rods jerking, a sign of another catch. Not wanting to miss out, he quickly popped the first fish into his mouth to free his hands, but the slippery little critter managed to squirm out of his grasp and ended up stuck in his throat, leaving just enough space for air to squeeze through. I don't know about you, but this goes to show why one shouldn't...
That will definitely go into my memory Rolodex to never, ever hold a fish in my mouth, especially a live one. I don't care how much somebody's trying to pay me or dare me. I'm not doing it.
Wouldn't be too greedy. In another universe, that single fish would have cost him his entire life. Number 9. World's oldest message in a bottle. In 2014, an angler chanced upon a unique catch. Not a rare fish species, but an old memento. A message in a bottle that might be the oldest discovered as of yet. Inside a discarded beer bottle caught in a fisherman's net was a small piece of paper with a message in the bottle dating back to May 17, 1913. The bottle held a Danish postcard, stamped twice with German postage and written by a gentleman named Richard Platz. The message was a request for whoever found it to send it to his address in Berlin. He even included a couple of 5 pfennig stamps for postage. Unfortunately, the bottle didn't make it to Berlin. Instead, it ended up in the nets of Conrad Fischer, a skipper hailing from Heikendorf in Schleswig-Holstein. Fischer took it to the International Maritime Museum in Hamburg. That's where they discovered the real identity of Richard Platz. In 1913, he was a 20-year-old baker's son who loved the great outdoors and had flung the bottle into the sea during a nature trip along the Baltic coast. Platz sadly passed away at the age of 54 in 1946, leaving behind 2 daughters, neither of whom were alive in 2014. A genealogist named Veit Godaj tracked down Platz's granddaughter, Angela Erdmann. Unfortunately, Erdmann had never met her grandfather, although she was deeply moved to receive a message from the past. Number 8. A deep-sea dragon. Most creatures discovered in the deep sea are incredibly frightening, but I must admit this creature is pretty adorable. Roman Fedorovtsov, a 39-year-old angler, was fishing in the Norwegian Sea when he caught this bizarre-looking creature. In his net, amongst the day's catch, was this bizarre creature that looked like it was straight out of a fantasy novel. Big, round, cartoonish eyes, wing-like fins, and an unusually long tail. It was so out of this world that people started calling it a baby dragon. And honestly, they weren't far off. I mean, can you imagine pulling your nets and finding something that looked like it'd be more at home in a Harry Potter book than in your fishing net? For once, deep-sea fishermen pulled out a cute creature from the abyss instead of an appalling monster. The internet immediately produced theories about what this dragon could be. Meanwhile, scientists are convinced this creature is a chimera, commonly known as a ghost shark. They usually look incredibly strange, which earned them their nickname. But not all of them are as surreal looking as this one. Some of them also look horrifying, to say the least. Number 7. Fishing with birds. Did you know that in some parts of the world, birds and anglers work hand in hand for a successful catch? This method of fishing has been around for centuries, predominantly in Japan and China, but also in other parts of the world. It's called ukai in Japan, and is ingrained in the country's culture. The cormorants, you see, are not your ordinary birds. They're master divers, able to plunge into the water and nab their fishy prey with uncanny precision. But here's the ingenious part. The fishermen tie a snare near the base of the bird's throat. This doesn't harm the bird, but it prevents them from swallowing larger fish while still allowing them to eat the smaller ones. This way, when a cormorant catches a big fish, they return to the boat, and the fisherman retrieves the catch by gently opening the bird's mouth. This ancient practice, dating back over 1,300 years, holds cultural significance and serves as a tourist attraction in Japan. These highly skilled fishermen communicate with the birds using distinct calls and gestures to direct their fishing efforts. Seasonally performed from May to October, ukai showcases the deep bond between humans and nature, while preserving the traditional fishing techniques of ancient Japan. However, this practice is becoming obsolete and might soon cease to exist. Number 6.
Wow.
Fishing with fire. Since we're already on the topic of bizarre ways people fish, here's another one. Fire fishing. It's exactly what it sounds like. Fishermen use fire to bring home the catch of the day, or rather the night. It's a method that requires not only skill and precision, but also a penchant for dramatic things. Fishermen use large bright lamps to light up the sea's surface. After that, the fish will all shoot out of the water, leaving fishermen busy scooping them up in nets.
Oh, they cheating. That's cheating, bro. That's cheating. I'm gonna have to try this.
It might be pretty to look at, but it can leave a pretty pungent smell because of the gas. However, this practice isn't without its challenges. Modern lighting technology and fishing methods have made fire fishing less common, turning it into something of a dying art. It's good to know that to this day, many are keeping this tradition alive. Number 5.
Dang.
A live woman. Imagine you're enjoying your time in the lake, trying to catch some fish, but you suddenly notice something bizarre in the water. Upon closer inspection, you notice that it's a black Jeep that's mostly submerged underwater. Curious, you try to take a closer look, and you see that there's still a woman inside the vehicle. That's exactly what happened to a man earlier this year. While enjoying a peaceful day of fishing on Lake of the Pines in Marion County, Texas, he found a black Jeep submerged around 40 feet from the closest boat ramp.
Now, most people would have saw that and went about their day, thought nothing of it. Even if they would have suspected it was a vehicle, would have either finished their fishing and went home and never would have thought. Bro, salute to that guy for acting on it, man.
There, he found a woman trapped inside the vehicle. The angler initially believed that the woman was already dead, but upon a closer look, she was still alive. Luckily, the angler was quick on his feet and immediately contacted emergency medical services, and the woman made it out alive. However, survival experts claimed that this would be very unlikely. Oxygen deprivation can lead to brain death within 4 minutes, making a submerged vehicle a hazardous scenario. It's still unknown how the woman ended up trapped underwater. Number 4. Fishing with otters. Otters are natural-born predators, and humans have learned to take advantage of it. Originating in Bangladesh and other parts of Southeast Asia, this unique form of fishing, known as otter fishing, is an age-old tradition that has been passed down from generation to generation. As versatile as any modern fishing tech, these otters are expert fish hunters, with their sleek bodies perfect for swiftly navigating through water and their sharp eyes capable of spotting fish with uncanny precision. The fishermen and otters share a symbolic relationship, each benefiting from the skills of the other. The otters dive into the water using their agility and sharp senses to chase fish from their hiding spots among the reeds or under the mud and guide them straight into the fishermen's nets. In return, they're cared for and are provided with a share of the day's catch. Number 3. The microfishing trend in Japan.
Smart, I guess.
In most places in the world, especially in America, anglers boast about the largest catch they manage to reel in. But did you know that in Japan, there's an ongoing trend about the opposite? In microfishing, the target is the smallest fish species, many of which are usually overlooked due to their size. The challenge here lies not in the weight of the catch, but in its intricacy. To successfully microfish, anglers must be patient, precise, and exhibit a delicate finesse. This trend started in Japan, where enthusiasts began exploring rivers and streams with a focus on this nanofish. The gear for microfishing is also unique. Imagine fishing rods as thin as a chopstick and a hook as small as a mosquito's mouth. That's what we're talking about here. Tiny hooks, tiny bait, and a steady hand is the name of the game. Now, what's even more intriguing about microfishing is that most anglers don't hurt the fish. Instead, they simply catch it, take a photo, identify it, and let it go. As a result, anglers get to enjoy fishing without hurting the ecosystem they're in. Number 2. Fish with a wedding ring. Did someone lose their ring while swimming? In 2021, a diver spotted this unique fish, a small creature that was swimming with an accessory adorning its neck.
I wonder why, like, fish and different things attack us. This is why. This fish probably so mad at humans.
I don't know just how exactly this little fella caught the gold wedding band on its neck, but it's making it incredibly easy to spot. It's probably bad news for this sand mullet fish, as it makes it much easier to get spotted by predators.
Probably in so much pain.
The diver who spotted the fish managed to capture a photo of the creature, but unfortunately, she couldn't catch it immediately. Although we're always advised not to touch wildlife in the ocean, experts are free to do so as they have ample knowledge of how to deal with animals. It's natural for them to want to help sea creatures that are hurt because of irresponsible waste disposal by us humans.
Right.
So the next time you're at the beach, make sure you don't throw away waste irresponsibly, and make sure that you always keep track of your jewelry. You don't want it to end up stuck around some poor fish's body, do you?
Think about all the stuff that get dropped in the water. Jewelry. It's a fish probably floating around right now that got a cell phone in his body.
And now it's time for today's topic. It was clear that the fishermen captured what no one was supposed to see. I believe some creatures in the ocean really aren't meant to be disturbed. The colossal squid is one of them. And yet, continuous deep sea fishing continues to haul these behemoths to the ocean's surface. Just take a look at this monster. Let's just hope more aggressive creatures won't show up soon. Number 1. Dinolike fish. If you see this creature in the wild, you'd think you encountered some sort of prehistoric creature. This creature is none other than the sturgeon. The lineage of this creature can be traced back over 200 million years. Just to put that into perspective, they lived alongside dinosaurs. They're armored with 5 rows of bony plates called scutes that run along their bodies. These scutes, along with their elongated torpedo-shaped bodies and shark-like tails, give them a distinctively prehistoric look. And their snouts. They've got these long, pointed snouts, making them look more extraordinary. Some species of sturgeon, like the beluga, can grow to be massive, reaching lengths of over 20 feet and weighing over 2,000 pounds. When spotted underwater, you might mistake this fish for some sort of cryptid. But despite their size and monstrous appearance, these creatures are pretty gentle and are bottom feeders. They're more interested in snacking on a delicious mollusk than anything else. Many species of sturgeon are critically endangered due to overfishing and habitat loss. Their eggs are highly sought after for caviar, making them a prime target for illegal fishing. So if you happen to spot one, consider yourself lucky.